Hello everyone, Justin DeLay from Reverb.com. Yes, that is my real name. Today we are super pumped because we are taking a closer look at the Korg Monologue, brand new monophonic analog synthesizer. This thing is super, super fun. Just an unbelievable bass and sequencing machine for $299, whether you're just jumping into synths or you're a vintage synthesizer aficionado. This really, I think, can find a pretty cool place in your collection because of some of the cool features that it has. Let's take a closer look. The Monologue is the next synth in the series that Korg kicked off with the Mini-Log. The Monologue, though inspired by the Mini-Log, it really is its own sound, starting with a new filter design. To my ears, it still has the same characteristic raspiness that you're gonna get in many of the great Korg synths. Let's just dive right in and hear some sounds. Okay, wow, cool. So right away, you get a real flavor for what this thing is all about. So in that first little example there, we already heard a couple of things. We heard the filter doing a little bit of sweeping. The filter has resonance, of course. It shares an envelope with the VCA, the volume. So this is a classic, it's like a Juno or an SH-101. You've got one shared envelope for your filter and volume. There are a couple different basic shapes of the envelope that you can play with. And what's really fun is to just flip this switch here, the type switch, while it's playing, and it just kind of instantly grabs different sounds. So let's hear that real quick. So right there, again, just on this switch, you almost have like a verse and a chorus to your sequence, kind of tighten it up, open it up. And it's really cool that's on a switch because when you're jamming live, you can just kind of flick it and bring in a new sound. So this is a 2 oscillator synthesizer, again, all analog. Both VCO1 and VCO2 have multiple wave shapes, all the usuals. You got your squares, you got your saws. But what the Monologue has is for every one of those waveforms, you've got wave shaping, which essentially just takes the wave and kind of messes with it a little bit. And what it means is that you get a whole bunch of different sounds. So just really, really cool. And that kind of wave shaping stuff is not something you see in many synthesizers, even more expensive ones. Another thing I'll point out from a features perspective, this is the same sort of pitch bend modulation wheel design that Korg introduced on the Mini-Log again. And to me, it takes a little bit of getting used to. And I like that. It's its own thing. If you ever played a Nord synthesizer with the little wooden pitch stick, this is very similar to that. So here we've got this mod lever affecting the filter, not the pitch. And it's really cool. Again, let's bring the sequence back in and then move this in real time. And that is just another expressive element to the sequence. Sounds like this. Okay, so we've covered the basics of the synth architecture. It has one LFO. You have multiple waveforms for the LFO. You've got the rate, of course, and you've got 3 destinations for your LFO. Pitch, so you can do vibrato, wave shape, or of course, filter cutoff for your wah style effects on the filter. Let's just pull that up here for a second. I gotta point out the display on this thing. It is so cool. And I think that this little oscilloscope, even though it's such a simple idea, is so powerful to see in real time what is actually happening to the shape of your sound. So for instance, all I'm doing is just holding down a note, just playing here. The LFO is modulating the wave shape, and you can sit there and watch the wave shape being modulated. And that movement, that changing over time is what makes an analog synth so alive and why it makes it so interesting to the ears. You know, a lot of more basic architecture synths can sound very static because they're just kind of always putting out the same sound. This is just wild, and it's so awesome. Another cool thing about this is that it will actually show you the input from this audio input that the synth has. So what that means is that you can essentially look at the waveforms of other stuff. Like for instance, the Korg Volca beats. You can run the sounds of this, through the filter, and make it all one nice, beautiful piece of music like this. Audio coming in here, and we know this is working because if we turn down these 2 oscillators, we're still hearing the beat because the sequencer is running. And again though, we can shape the sounds of the Korg Volca beats with the filter. Finally, the star of the show. The sequencer in the Korg Monologue is one of the best monophonic sequencers I've ever seen. It has no business being in a synth this affordable. It's cool, it's really cool. And so it's cool enough that it can play notes. We know that there are notes playing because we're on the note selection. And if you look and listen, every time this red light is hit by the moving red light, a note plays. So right there, you can start programming steps and moving stuff around. That's pretty cool. But Korg didn't stop there with the sequencer. If you go all the way down to the bottom here, it's called motion. This is a classic Korg feature. It's been on everything since the original Electribes back in the early genesis of the groove box. And it's sweet then and it's sweet now. What it is you can record the movements of the knobs and have it repeat. And you can do not 1, but 4 knobs. And it all shows up here on this cool little display. And this, folks, this is how you take something pretty simple, pretty basic, and turn it into something amazing. And if you just flip through the presets on this, switch over to motion and look at what's already pre-programmed into the synthesizer, and you'll see how much is going on and how cool it can be pretty fast. And guess what? Aphex Twin designed these presets and this motion sequencing. So it's like you're jamming with Aphex Twin on the Monologue just by playing the presets. Right? So right away, we look here and we can see this upward kind of, sloping thing here represents what we just did with the filter. But we're not done. Let's do some more. Right? I mean, this is already like the coolest thing. Wow, this is so crazy. This synth right now in real time is shifting the second oscillator up and down an octave just by flicking that switch and hitting that record button. It's amazing. Okay, so we've established that the Monologue is a really, really cool, affordable synthesizer. How does it compare to what is on the market? Let's start with the Mini-Log. So why not just save up a little bit more money and get the big brother, the Mini-Log? Well, for two reasons. One, the sequencer in this is way more hands-on, way more playable, and just so fun. So fun. Two, it's a monosynth and not a polysynth. And so you may say, well, why would you only ever want to play one note when you could play four? Well, a trumpet only plays one note, and unless you're like a Gregorian monk, we can only sing one note at a time. And the point of that is that a monophonic voice allows some expressiveness in the melody that you can't do polyphonically. In comparison to other affordable monophonic synthesizers on the market versus the Brute series, the Brute series does not have presets, and this does. So that's pretty rad. And versus the Bass Station, the Bass Station has some cool arpeggiation and some cool other sequencing tools, but not nearly as sophisticated as this. If you're looking to do this kind of sequencing stuff, this is the one to get. In closing, Korg Monologue, affordable, fun, monophonic synthesizer. You're gonna make a lot of cool sequences and a lot of interesting sounds with this synth. And it comes in a variety of colors, so you get to pick your favorites. Check it out, find it on reverb.com.